What Yuebao offers is a deposit product like a bank, but with higher returns. Nearly 150 million users have signed up. However, Yuebao is losing its attractiveness. After dropping below 4% for the first time last week, its annual rate of return has been falling all this week and has stood at around 3.6% since Tuesday.
When the annual rate of return was high, I usually put money into Yuebao account. But recently the returns have been low, so it's better if I keep money in my bank account.
I put most of my savings into my bank account. There's only several thousand yuan in my Yuebao account, so the lower return does not matter too much to me.
In fact, Yuebao is a money market fund managed by Tianhong Asset Management. Most of its portfolio is comprised of short-term investments such as interbank deposits and treasury bonds. That means Yuebao's yield is closely related to the level of liquidity in the money market. When liquidity is tight, banks are desperately looking for idle money. Yuebao, with huge amounts of deposits, can lend the money to banks and yield higher returns. But when the liquidity is good as it's now, the bargaining power of Yuebao is low.
Yuebao's returns are affected by monetary policies. Recently, the central bank has lowered the bank's reserve requirement ratio and the interest rate. Those measures have helped ease liquidity and lower Yuebao's returns.
Today, the Shanghai Interbank offered rate, an average of the rate at which banks will lend to each other, was around 1.3%. 2 years ago, when banks were experiencing a cash crunch, the Shanghai Interbank offer rate was as high as 13%. And at that time, Yuebao's annual rate of return soared to more than 6%. However, experts say that the time of such high returns has passed.
After the last reserve requirement ratio cut, the bank's liquidity improved. The central bank could soak up liquidity by selling repos. If it does that, it will increase the return rate. But the time of high returns has passed. The risk of money market funds is lowest, so naturally the returns is also the lowest.
Xiao predicts that returns from online money market funds like Yuebao will continue to float between 3% and 4% in the near future. According to Fitch Ratings, China's money market funds' total assets had risen to 2.2 trillion yuan by the end of last year, 70% of which came from individual investors. Lin Yijing, ICS for CCTV, Shanghai.